Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Nepal, the country which is mentioned in Atharvaved, which is mentioned in Puranas, has 55,000 years. That's the time when the Africans first came to India subcontinent and some of them moved to Nepal. So this is a historical, mythological, spiritual relationship that India has with Nepal. This 59th largest country today seems to be a pawn in the political game which sometimes breaks into militant war. The military war is a dangerous place today, or it could be a dangerous place, provided what President Xi ordered about 2 hours back, just 2 hours back, that the Chinese army should be ready to act at a second's notice. So this country is today a very crucial country as far as India's geographical political situation is concerned. And so is for China. The implications of the Chinese interference in Nepal political crisis are very intricate. And the existing tensions between India and China have compelled India to informally ask airlines not to fly Chinese nationals into the country. At the same time, China has sent a very high powered delegation to Nepal to help save Oli, the prime minister, and let him come back to power. There's no denying the fact that ever since the Galwan Valley crisis and the clashes in June, the ties between the two sides have dipped sharply. China has been trying to capitalize on the COVID pandemic and unilaterally pushed its territorial and maritime claims in South China, in Vietnam, and in northern parts of India. So much so that US had to intervene and declare that even the appointment of Dalai Lama, the next Dalai Lama, is not the prerogative of China. As a matter of fact, the high level team led by the Vice Minister sent to Nepal is a clear case of political interference in another country. Now, compare this with what happened in 1950. At that time, since 1837, Ranas used to control the royalty, and royalty was a pawn in the hand of Ranas. And they were always the prime minister, but being prime minister, they had more power than the king had. So King Tribhuvan, with his wife and the children, took asylum in Indian embassy in Nepal. Two aircrafts were sent to rescue him. He reached India. He was received with courtesy by Jawaharlal Nehru. And in the talks, he very clearly said, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to sign an instrument of accession with India so that Nepal becomes a part of India the way Jaipur, Jodhpur, Patiala, Travancore, Hyderabad have become. And that should have been a very sensible decision. But Nehru had his own views. He thought that Nepal as a buffer state would be better which have disadvantages, I don't deny. But the recent actions of China in interfering the internal affairs of Nepal and propping up an unpopular prime minister brings the danger closer to India, and the time may not be far off when Nepal may be absorbed in China. And then what Nehru feared at that time, that India and China should not have adjoining borders, at least in Nepal and Bhutan, that would be lost. Then, when India annexed Sikkim, that one portion which divided India border, separated India and China, was obliterated. So only two countries are left. And the action of China show that time is not far off when only Bhutan might be the buffer state, and in all other places, India and China may have a border, hot, live wire. Now, while this is happening, there are reports which I discussed in my comments the other day. Pakistan is fencing up large areas of Gwadar to protect Chinese projects in the port area. Chinese themselves are trying to please Beijing like anything, but they want to protect 60 billion Chinese Pakistan economic corridor, which is increasingly unpopular in Pakistan. And what I'm saying is, you might be thinking that I was supposed to talk on Nepal, China, India conundrum. From where does Pakistan come in? It comes in as an adjunct to China. China is adopting a scissors policy, a two pronged attack. It is instigating Pakistan to stand up, and it is directly connecting with India across the border. As I said, the latest action, which happened about a couple of hours back, in asking the army to be ready at a second's notice, shows that the war of hypocrisy, which was a strategic aspect of Chinese war with India, is likely to turn into a different shape. Taken together, you are going to see that Beijing appears determined to ignore the lessons of history. As a matter of fact, I feel that President Xi is having the visions of medieval China, maybe Kublai Khan, Mongols who try to conquer the whole world, and the imperialistic suzerainty spread over not only China, part of Russia, Uzbekistan, and all the Kazakhstan, Balochistan, till Balochistan. So they wanted to roll it back, and India is trying to see that it must protect itself. It is not a natural strategic backyard of China. And Nepal, therefore, assumes a lot of importance. And on hindsight, it think that Pandit Nehru, what he did in 1950, was wrong. In 1951, the agreement that Pandit Nehru had brokered with Ranas and King Tribhuvan should have been the other way around. It should not have been that agreement which made Nepal into a constitutional monarchy. It should have been an instrument of accession, mentioning that Nepal becomes a state of India at the same level which other kingly states are. If 600 other states could be there, Nepal could very well have been there, and it could. Then, the parts of Nepal could have been combined with Bihar, with Uttar Pradesh, with Uttarakhand. And then Nepal has a strategic tie-up because Indian army is quite a strong contingent of Gorkhas is there. Let's not forget that. And Gorkhas are the only foreign element in Indian and in British army. So then they would not have been foreign element. And if Nepal becomes an area of influence under China, then even this Gorkha recruitment would have to be stopped because either the Nepalese government would not permit it or they would be a fifth column. So Nehru's action at that time, though might have looked good, was not far-sighted. That was an appropriate time. 1950, King Tribhuvan reached here. 1951, we signed the tripartite agreement whereby Nepali Congress became powerful. Koirala became the prime minister later on. But we forgot that the Chinese tactics were going to be there. China started building at the same time investing both ways, impinging and over investing in Pakistani sovereignty and then buying up the Nepal Communist Party, which is regarded by Nepalese as a China's stooge. And given the differential between India and China Pakistan axis, India has its work cut out defending its own borders. Now, can India take over Nepal? Not now. You see, once you miss the bus, you miss the bus forever. And on the 20th of December, when President accepted the advice of Prime Minister Oli and dissolved the parliament, that was a time when India could have intervened, and India can even now intervene. The elections, the new elections are to take place on 30th of April and 10th of May this year. What India can do is actively support Prachanda, who is co-chair of the ruling party, though he is against India. But it has to be seen that Oli has overstepped his executive power and India should exploit it. Let's not forget, even today, there's an agreement existing which India should invoke. The agreement is a joint defense agreement, sort of a thing, and also that in foreign policy, Nepal would be guided by India. Guided, there is the word. There is the operative word. Now, guided can mean simple giving direction, or it can be a more persuasive guidance. Let India indulge in a bit of arm twisting. And that's important from the national point of view. Let's not forget that Oli has overstepped his executive authority in recommending solution. And in this tussle, the understanding arrived between the most central NCP and unified Marxist-Leninist NCP, both are saying they would remain united to provide political stability. So, India can say, look here, that understanding is anti national. And then there is a doctrine, the preeminence. The preeminence doctrine says that your interest you can always take action. And the population of Nepal, majority of them are in favor of aligning with India against China. Now, it's up to India to ensure that the money laundering investigation should go into the internals of Nepal, because that's a thing which India can easily undertake, and then expose Oli and others, and also expose how the Chinese have been investing in that. As a matter of fact, pressure has been building up on Oli for a long time, but he has not been successful. And do you know how the Chinese ambassador, how Yankee has been working? She has been shuttling between the top leaders and functions of Nepal since May last year to garner support for Oli. Now, this was a wanton interference, an unwanted interference in the internal affairs. No ambassador of any country is supposed to do it. This time, Modi missed the bus. He should have immediately instructed Indian ambassador to meet Oli and tell him hands off. If you meet next time, how Yankee, then India would be compelled to intervene. She met not only the leaders like Madhav, but she also met the president. So, when the four-member delegation, Vice Minister of International Development, met President in a desperate effort to help Oli, India should have again done something. But then Nepalese leaders have been very clear. Media reports have indicated that the China has been using corrupt leaders in economically weak countries, and that's what they have been doing in in Nepal. Oli has been practically bought, and that is something which India should use to ensure that the people realize it. It is true that Nepalese people would like to have a call on what China is doing, but India's interests are too intertwined to ignore such developments. Since 2017, China has been trying to weaken the hold of India in Pakistan. China is also, in Nepal. China is also involved in several projects under BRI projects, which India can object. By the way, do you know that not only they are using Nepal as a colony, but they are also trying to enslave it culturally. Now, Nepal is the only Hindu country, and Prajapati, Pushapati, Shiva, and all are worshipped over there. But China has sent up there now a Confucius Institute in Kathmandu University, and there are numerous local level organizations which have been set up. India has to do immediately a counteraction. According to a recent report, a 24-kilometer square area of Gwada and the penetration of China into three villages of Nepal. These are the danger signals. India has to keep in view the larger game of China. China is using Nepal to keep it bogged down with the problems generated at the behest of China. These problems are not native to Nepal. They have been foisted on Nepal with an ulterior purpose. And the purpose is to detract India's attention and strengthen its claim in eastern Ladakh. So India has to take Chinese machinations very seriously. The management of our neighbors, including Nepal, mostly Nepal, must enjoy the highest priority this year. Episodic engagement and crisis management must be replaced by focus on economic development and economic cooperation, cultural integration, and political cooperation. We need to improve connectivity with Nepal, especially cultural diplomacy, and such a step would build strong leverage with Nepal and would go a long way to check Chinese anti Indian activities. Simultaneously, India would emerge as a reliable net security provider to Nepal and, by example, to Bhutan and maybe even Myanmar. So, India has to wake up and take action so that the dragon's interference in Nepal can be counterchecked in the interest of Indian society, Indian economy, Indian culture, and Indian sovereignty. That's the most important thing. Would India do it? Let's hope so.